All right, guys, what's happening? It's Andre with AndreReese.Biz. All right, guys, you caught me. I'm out here on my bike. I am so happy. It has been so cold. I'm out here. We'll go ahead and knock out a cycle cast for you guys. I got a lot of topics to talk about, and I think the main talk I'm here to talk about today is the Payphone Project. But I'm also going to walk real quick through. I'm going to talk about switches, the Monks, talk about Bay Area rapid transit, Walk-4-Peace. I'll also cover the Super Bowl halftime show, or I should say the really big bowl game halftime show that just happened. And I want to talk to you guys about the Melania Movie also. But today's main topic is going to be the Payphone Project. So let's start with just what's going on. Man, it has been so cold out here, and we've had temperatures down in the single digits, negative numbers for wind chill, and just yesterday, I think we got up to 30 degrees or so. So today and tomorrow, for today and tomorrow, for these 2 days, we're going through what I'm calling the Great Thaw. And so it's when the ice age is over. You guys can kind of see behind me the dirty snow, but I want to get out here real quick and ride while I could. And so my brother may be a little bit winded because I haven't been on my bike in a minute, so just kind of bear with me. But I'm out here enjoying myself nonetheless. So let's go ahead and start knocking out on these some of these quick topics. So I want to talk to you guys about switches. And I'll tell you, if you're in the hip hop generation, you're aware of it. There's something called a switch, you know. And to be honest with you guys, I recently found out that somebody I came in contact with and spent, I'm not going to give any specific details or anything, but I spent quite a bit of time, maybe about a week or so, occupying the same space, and they got caught up in and caught a case where they had, contraband, and they had a switch with them, and it just really saddens and breaks my heart for sure. So, and what is a switch? It's essentially a device that kind of helps make certain pew-pews automatic, you know, and you'll hear about them in songs. People will make reference to them, you know, all good. I get it. It's all part of the nomenclature at this point. But it's kind of sad when you run into somebody that is at a very, very early age, that they have their whole entire life in front of them, and they end up catching a case and having something like that on them. So I'll tell you, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. You know, it's kind of like one of those things. And man, my heart goes out to this young fella, and hopefully when it's all said and done, you know, there won't be that much of a legal backlash. But, you know, these things essentially make pew-pews automatic, and it's something that the federal government and the ATF and everybody else is, you know, cracking down on. So all I want to say is, if you guys are ever in a situation where you're around something like this, you know, just get up and leave. It's not, I think on the federal side, they've got like a mandatory 10-year sentence that you can get, and there's also all these different enhancements and stuff like that. So, you know, it's been kind of bothering me. Like I said, it's somebody that I spent some time sharing some space with a little bit over a year and a half ago, and man, it really breaks my heart to hear something like that. So, you know, I just want to hope that everything works out on the legal end for this individual, but most importantly, anybody else out there that has a chance to walk away from one of these situations. Choose that over the pressures. And I get it, because me personally, as a youngster, when I was 18, 19 years old, I wanted to act and be portrayed a certain way. And I just never went through with all the associated drama, and so the pressure oftentimes out there on these streets is really difficult and tough to try to deal with. So, that's kind of where I am on that. Let me try to see if I can get across the street here real quick. So, all right, got a few seconds. All right, here we go. All right, so that's all I want to say. Just be careful if you're ever in an environment where and this adults, young folks, everybody. If you're ever in an environment where things can go left pretty quick, just make a decision to do the right thing if you can. It's probably what's going to end up saving your life in the long run and keeping you off the streets and kind of squared away. Let me see if I can go this way down here. I'm not sure. Have I seen this before? Okay. All right. So yeah. So let's jump on to the next one. Let's talk about the monks. And so today I think is day 108, and they made it all the way to Washington D.C. And so they're spreading their message of peace, love, and unity. And these guys, the Venerable Monks, they've walked all the way from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, all the way to Washington, D.C. And I think as they've traveled, and I actually went back and looked at when they first started their journey, there was really no fanfare at all. I went and scrolled back to day one of their Facebook page. There was no fanfare. They were walking along, and they would meet people along the way that would give them some food. They were oftentimes sleeping in fields, overnight, kind of a thing. And, here they are. They've gotten national attention. And as I said, they've crossed into Washington, D.C. today, crossed over the Potomac, and they made it. So, and congratulations to them. I know all of us have to, overcome our own fights, and they've said, hey, this is not about anything more than us overcoming what we need to work through. So shout outs to them. I don't know if they, I think tomorrow is one of the last days they will be in DC. I think today they're posted up at the National Cathedral. So we got to go there for the holidays. That's usually where the majority of, presidential things take place. So, actually, hang on a second. I think my strap is getting caught here. Hang on. So with the National Cathedral, that's where they are today. They have a big ceremony that's planned, and a big meeting. There's a lot of people that joined with them. And I'll tell you, once they were working their way over into from Virginia into DC, the presence around them, as far as law enforcement was concerned, it was really heavy. So I don't know if there's been any threats against them. And I know that along the way, there were some Christian groups that heckled them, spat on them, that type of stuff. So I don't know if this is one of those things where people don't want them to make the final journey, but we all just need to respect each other. You can still see behind me, there's still a ton of ice there on the sidewalk. We just need to respect each other and allow each person to do what they need to do to be able to achieve their goals. And you know, so like I said, tomorrow, I think they're staying at George Washington University today. I think that's what the name of it is. And then tomorrow, they will walk by the White House on their way to, I think the National Mall is where they're going, or to the Capitol. I don't know for sure. You guys can always log in and check what their progress is. And I think that they might have one more day in DC, and then they're going to turn around and hop on a bus and ride back home. So, and like I've always said along the way, these guys have done a lot to influence people positively. And, you know, it just started with a few people doing what they're doing, and they've made a big difference, giving a lot of people hope, you know. And so all of us have the ability to do something small, and hopefully at one point it's going to turn out to be something that will multiply, and it will truly, you know, make a difference. So we'll just leave it at that right there. And let me get across this road real quick and then get down. So yeah, that's the Monks and the Walk-4-Peace. And another thing I'm kind of shocked about is, oh, just real quick on the Monks. I don't know if President Trump has any. I don't think there's anything officially on the agenda where they will meet with the president, you know. But it'd be a nice gesture, because pretty much a lot of the folks that have a lot of the cities that they've passed through, a lot of the mayors that have been there and the governors and stuff, they've stopped to, you know, meet the guys, the Monks, and you know, wish them well on their journey, you know. So that's kind of a cool thing. So the next thing is talk about real fast is BART. Man, if you're from the Bay Area, there's we have our own train system called Bay Area Rapid Transit. And if you ever take the time, actually down here everything is frozen. So over my shoulder, let me go down here real quick. So in the Bay Area, like I said, there's Bay Area Rapid Transit. It is our transit agency or authority that moves people around the Bay. And if you ever take the time to look at the BART map, you know, I spent many years riding BART, that type of thing. So if you ever get a chance to sit there and ride on the train, you'll see that the reason why BART exists is so that they can get people in and out of San Francisco. That's it. And so all the train routes that come from the peninsula, that come from the South Bay, that come out from the East Bay, Pleasanton, and then, you know, the Brentwood, Antioch area, all they do is, let me get through here real quick. Little crunchy. All right.
Distance 3.0 miles, duration 22 minutes.
This is something wild that I never thought in my life I would ever do, is ride out here along the river when it's partially iced over or snowing. So I think back in the distance there, it's frozen. I think people were actually out before walking out here. But yeah, so back to BART. So the water is a little bit high because there's the thaw that's happening right now. But I do see some pieces of ice down there that you're gonna probably see to your left, just over my shoulder. I don't know if you'll be able to see them or not. But so the Bay Area Rapid Transit, its sole job is to get people in and out of San Francisco. And San Francisco has gone through a mollywop after COVID, and there's a certain amount of stuff that's related to policies. A lot of businesses have shut down, and a lot of businesses have left. A lot of companies have moved and relocated. And so what they're currently saying right now is ridership pre-pandemic never returned to the Bay Area. All good. And so the transit authority there, what's going on, man? The transit authority there is funded mostly by ridership fares. So, and this year for coming up for the 2027 budget cycle, and I assume it probably begins on January, not January, but July 1st and goes through 6/30/2028. You guys can kind of see off to my left here, or yeah, to your left, how everything is kind of frozen over here. That's how cold it was. So, and so they're projecting at this point they're going to have roughly a $400 million deficit, and each year it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So, man, crazy. So what they're projecting is they're projecting that they may need to potentially close a bunch of stations, 10 initially, 5 later, so for a total of 15, and lay off as many as 1,200 transit workers. So let me take it easy through here. This was ice, but because it's thawing, it's very slushy right now. I just want to make sure I don't fall. There we go. I'm starting to slip a little bit. We put a lot of sand down. So, doing okay. And I'll tell you, I ended up, before this season, I said, you know, I'm going to ride all through the winter, and I end up putting fenders on my bike to be able to stop, you know, if it was raining or wet or something, that I wouldn't get pummeled. But I never thought I would ever have a situation where it would be iced over like this. But look behind me, it is fantastic. It is just beautiful to be doing this. And so back to BART. So my heart goes out to BART. When I lived out in Pittsburgh, Bay Point Station, that area, Brentwood, I used to take BART into the city all the time. And it was a hell of a haul, you know, but so what their solution is, they want to increase the sales tax 1% in San Francisco, and I think all the other counties around the Bay Area to pay for it. They'll end up having their sales tax increased, you know, by 0.5%. So it could be pretty significant. Man, this is just pure ice over here. Ah, shoot. All right, let me just take my time. Look at this. Like I said, if this was ice right now that was frozen over, this would not work, you know, but because it's slushy, I get some friction and a little bit of traction here. So this was definitely a good day, but me coming down the hill like I normally do over here, I'm just going to take my time. But I'm really happy I get the experience of doing this. This is something that's a first in a lifetime, and you guys get to share it with me. So I am 100% appreciative of being able to do this ride. So yeah, so back to BART. Hopefully, you know, I don't know how I would vote, because I think in the November election cycle that's coming, they're going to put a vote to the people and see if they're willing to, you know, go up on the sales tax. And if they are, they'll be saved. If not, these changes are coming. And they kind of did disaster projections where if they don't get this money, they're going to have to cut service and keep laying off people in different years, to the point where they'll eventually have to close the station down, or close the system down, and that's it. And so the disadvantage, and I'll tell you, if you want to have incredible transit service, you got to move to Europe. You can easily go back and forth on the train. They got subways all over the place. They got a great bus system. You know, on the East Coast, it's the closest thing we have, like in New York, and out here we got Amtrak that runs up and down the Eastern Seaboard. You know, from here we can go to DC easily. We can go to New York. We can go all the way up to Boston on the train. And, you know, and there's options where I think you can go down south, down to Florida, and you can actually put your car on a train and let the train carry your car down there, and then hop off with your car, drive around, do what you got to do, and then take the train back with your car and get back up here. So I just got another ad today on Facebook for that. I forgot all about that. So hopefully they're able to get it together and figure out a way to make it work, but like I said, the transit systems out here are definitely a lot better, but it's all based on how long these cities have been around. So I think in comparison, New York has been a lot more established and had a chance over multiple decades and centuries to develop a reasonable transit system, and people still outwardly complain about it. When we've gone to New York and we've ridden the transit system, we were really happy that we were able to get around. And if you kind of pair that up with Google Maps, it'll tell you what station to get off and which way to go, and that way you can come all the way up right next to the landmark you're trying to get to. So like I said, hopefully they're able to get it together and figure out how to make it work. So yeah, so that's it. I just heart goes out to San Francisco. I am completely detached from California, so my heart and my soul is on the East Coast now. I've traveled back to the Bay Area a couple times recently over the last couple years, and went around some of my old stomping grounds and stuff, and I didn't feel at any point like I needed to come back or that I was missing anything. So, and I always look forward to coming home. This is where my heart is, and I love this environment. I love the Four Seasons, and I think I made a good choice. But I'm not one of those people that I've seen before in the past that left California, went to Texas, or went to Arizona, went to Florida, went to Tennessee, and they, or even Las Vegas, and they said, burn to the ground, California burn. I'm not like that at all. So I want everybody there to have all the basic things that they need at a reasonable price. And so, like I said, my heart goes out to everybody there, and I hope somehow, some way they're able to figure it out. So yeah, that's it for that. And so getting close here, and I don't think I mentioned one of the things I was going to talk about was the Melania movie. I'll bring that up here in a second as we get closer to the final topic. But let's talk about real quick the Bad Bunny versus Turning Point USA halftime extravaganza showdown that just happened. So like I did a previous video before, I'll let you guys know, I think it was the last one, that I'm not much in the way of sports, and I can kind of care less at this point in my life. I don't have that group attachment type of thing, and anybody that does, cool. I got other stuff I do that people aren't interested in. This gives me a lot of joy to be able to do, and I know a lot of people just hate bicycles, period. So we all have to just respect each other for what we like and what we enjoy.
32 minutes,
But
30 seconds.
I ended up watching the Super Bowl, so most of it at least. And as I mentioned before, I had no idea how I was going to watch it. So I think the day of, when I got up in the morning early, I think I got up maybe was it Sunday? I got up really, really early. So I got up somewhere around 4 a.m. in the morning, 4:30. How you doing? And I was up early, and I went to the computer and I typed in, how can I watch the Super Bowl? And it gave me this whole page of all these different Comcast and Cox and Hulu Plus and all these different options. And I was like, no, I'm not doing all that. And it said you can set up a free trial and cancel it. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that either. And then I Googled what I can do with here, I'm getting through this here. I Googled what can I do with antenna. So I think before I said CBS, I think they've had the Super Bowl before in the past, but at some point they switched over to NBC. but it said, yeah, you can watch NBC 12 out in Richmond, Virginia, and you can get it. So I already had an antenna that I had bought before, just an over-the-air antenna. So it was already plugged into the TV. I have not even used it, and I think the last time I used it, matter of fact, it was for the Super Bowl. So it's just an item that only gets used for the Super Bowl. So, and I think the first time we used it was like 2 years ago. So last year, I think we got together with some people, you know, and watched, or maybe the year before, you know, who knows, who remembers. But it hasn't been used very much. So I went and checked, it was back there. I went to the tuner built in and checked, and sure enough, channel 12 was there. And so what was going on at the time on NBC was they were doing the Olympics. They were doing slalom, skiing, and then they also did speed skating. So I rarely ever take the time to sit down and watch, you know, sports on television. But I was like, oh, it's the Olympics. So I watched the speed skating and the slalom for about an hour or so. And then the slalom was on the snowboards and stuff. So it was really cool. And I was like, okay, well, we're all set up, we're good to go. But out here on the East Coast, I don't think the Super Bowl didn't come on until like 6 o'clock in the evening. So it was a long, long haul. So I went about my business, did what I needed to do. When Boobay came down, I was like, baby, we can watch the Super Bowl. She's like, okay, cool. So we went about our business, did what we were doing. And then I think somewhere around 5:30 or so, maybe 5:45, I stopped working and went and sat down and right in front of the TV on the couch and started watching. And so I was like, okay, cool. And I think at that moment I looked to see where the halftime show was, the alternative one with Turning Point. All good. So I was ready to go. So started watching the game, and they did the coin toss and all the pomp and circumstances before they start. Watched the kickoff. So make a long story short, I watched the Super Bowl all the way on the couch through the end of the second quarter. And Marilyn was like, I'm only interested in just seeing the halftime show. So there were various commercials that were coming on. I'll tell you, the commercials that I saw, I respect them, I appreciate them. Maybe something's different in me now, but a lot of them, I don't necessarily, but I'm also not the target audience probably. But I think they used to be a lot more creative before in the past. I think the one that Marilyn was railing about, she was like, did you see that Claude one? I was like, what Claude one? And so she told me about the Claude commercial and how the guy was just trying to have a conversation and get some pointers on how to deal with his grandma. And in the end, they started making recommendations if the things didn't work out between him and his mom, that he could end up, you know, meeting some nice ladies that are cougars that are looking for cubs. And I missed the whole thing at the end, and I didn't even get it until today. Somebody else I watch all the time on TikTok that talks about AI specifically. He was explaining how it was just a fantastic commercial, but I didn't realize that what the whole point of this thing is that Claude was talking about with their service, you're not going to end up having ads built into it. And so what Claude was doing, they took an active situation where the guy had some honest questions, and they found an appropriate advertisement and inserted it within the conversation, which was, you know, the whole, you know, find yourself a nice gilf kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I finally get it. I was a little bit slow. But yeah, so like I said, I think the commercials and stuff used to be better before in the past. You know, but I enjoyed watching the game with the rest of America. And what Marilyn ended up doing was she ended up heating up some leftovers, and she timed it perfectly. So as soon as halftime hit, the food was ready. We had some of those, some of those ready-made ribs we had tucked away in the freezer, where you just have to do a little bit more than heat them up, but you got to actually cook them, and they're already pre-seasoned. So we had that, and we had, she had made some macaroni and cheese before. Oh my God, it's incredible. And I told her, I said, if we ever get an opportunity to go to one of the family functions where it's a cookout, you will bring this macaroni, because it is phenomenal the way that she made it. She loves to cook and she loves to experiment. And then we had some other sweet potatoes that she had baked. They were all delicious. We had hadn't had soda at home at all this year, and I had bought some for an event we were going to have, and so I went and grabbed the soda. I think it's the Izzy is what it is. We had that, enjoyed it, and it was like having a Thanksgiving dinner. And so here we are. Bad Bunny is up next. So we're watching the whole thing unfold. We're watching all the stuff come out on the field, and it's like, wow, what has he got planned here to try to, jump off? And so I think it took like 15 minutes for them to set everything up. And of course the halftime show begins. And so at that moment I was like, oh yeah, there's the alternative one. And so like I said, we're sitting here eating, and I went ahead and logged into the other one, found it on YouTube. And because the other one with Bad Bunny hadn't started yet, turned the volume up a little bit and kind of was listening to it just a little bit. And I think what I was really after was, I just wanted to see what the body count was of people that were watching. I think that at that point it was in the 3s and the 4 million or so. And so when Bad Bunny started, went ahead and turned the alternate one down, and went ahead and listened to the whole halftime show and watched that. And I'll tell you, to be honest with you guys, it was absolutely, it was very impressive. And so, and this is the funny thing, we were laughing about this. And before the big bowl game, folks were talking about he was going to come out in a dress and he was going to burn the American flag, and it's going to be straight up debauchery. None of that, of course. You can't predict what people are going to do in advance, but you can put your own bias on stuff and project. And of course, like I say all the time, when these things don't work out, nobody comes back and says, oh, you know what? I made a mistake. I over projected on this one. All that stuff doesn't happen. They just double down on the next one. And so it was happening on both sides with Turning Point people as well as the Bad Bunny. So I guess in that way, based on Einstein theory, both of those things kind of canceled each other out, So we watched the performance and watched it come together. And I'll tell you, it was absolutely impressive. I didn't necessarily understand what he was singing about. I think a couple of the songs sounded familiar. I don't know if they were his or if he was doing the creative license thing where you kind of borrow temporarily somebody else's songs, because you can do that in a public venue. Oh shoot, here, hang on. All right, sorry about that. Chain came off there for a quick second. So, I didn't understand what he was singing about, all good. But I tell you what, it was a fantastic performance. And I'll tell you, when I was watching the Kendrick Lamar one last year, I'm in the culture, I understand the language. He's got his own style of, Black American vernacular English. And I didn't put all the pieces together for what he was saying either. Had to go back afterwards and slow things down and get the analysis. I was like, oh, okay. But the thing that was apparent to me was that he was there to tell a story, and he took advantage of the audience that was there to see him. And I tell you, a lot of people don't realize that Puerto Rico is in the United States. That's the crazy thing, And he used it to talk about how things were when he was growing up as a child. And, all good. And then so he basically told the story of starting out in some of the plantation fields and working his way through. Ricky Martin was there singing a little bit. You know, there was a point where he had what appeared to be a wedding, and that actually was real. And, you know, so it was an homage to life in Puerto Rico and growing up. And in the end, he kind of called out all the countries that make up the Americas, and had flags, and people kind of pranced and walked out. All good. How you doing? Yeah, so all good. So like I said, it was a fantastic show. I can appreciate the artistry, the showmanship, not knowing what to expect next, and just sitting there watching everything unfold. And I did look down a couple times, and I think I saw that the Turning Point show bipped out at maybe 6.1 million consecutive viewers, you know, at the time. You know, so there's no way in the world that you can have two different people, the main audience, which is the NFL, and then have them lose all of their viewership. And so for people to even think in that capacity that was going to happen, it's not even true, you know. And so I think the largest stream that they've ever had on Turning Point, or not Turning Point, but on YouTube, is live, is like 8 million or so. So they had a really good showing for this event, you know, that they had. And so I didn't watch it right away, and I think I waited a couple days before I actually came back and watched the alternative halftime show. That way I can give it my own, my full attention. And I encourage everybody to, you know, you don't have to choose a side. You know, you could watch them both and appreciate them both. And I'll tell you, a lot in America here, and this is the thing, when Kendrick Lamar did his, people said, and this is when I looked on Facebook, people said it was the worst halftime show that they've ever seen in their life. When they've had Dr. Dre, and they've had other mainstream people performing, Janet Jackson or whoever, people said it was the absolute worst Super Bowl show that I've seen in my life. And so, of course, you go right to Facebook and you start scrolling, and you see a lot of people like, what the hell was that? And that was the worst halftime show ever. Ah, shoot, hang on, I lost it again. Once in a while, I'll lose my chain. But, yeah, I don't know if it's because it's cold, and, well, it's not that cold. But, so many people were like, it's the worst halftime show ever, and, you know, and I say, you know what? It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're allowed to feel how we feel, but it's like, at this point now, things are so divided and segmented that I don't think there's anything that we can all agree on, you know, ever again, you know. And so that's kind of the sad part about this. Here I am, I'm riding on this snow out here. So that's kind of the sad part about all this. And I went and watched the other one, the alternative halftime show. I went and watched that, like I said, a day or two later. And come to find out, I guess they didn't do it live. They pre-recorded it, and they had, I think, 4 artists that performed. I don't know who they were besides Kid Rock, but I'll tell you, the production value of what they produced was really nice, and it was a exercise in contrast, because what you saw with the extravagance and everything they brought out for the halftime show, the one for Turning Point was very basic and very clean, very elegant, and everything kind of leaned on the side of a little bit more masculine, with you know, microphone stands that are made out of chain that are welded together, and a lot of the performers wearing black. You know, so I encourage you guys go watch it. And I think they said that, and if you ask Gemini, they said that roughly, I guess 25 million people in total across all their platforms watched the show. And it may have been more if they would have had it on Twitter, but they had some licensing issues, so all good. And, we got to give homage to where all this kind of started before, and I stand even stronger on my prediction, because at some point down the road, other artists and other performers, they are going to create their own halftime shows. And a good example, I saw something that, what's his name? Chris Brown posted saying that, essentially that, don't you guys wish it was me up there performing, or the NFL needs me, kind of a thing. Somebody like Chris Brown that wants to do the halftime show, with a lot of his issues that he's had in the past, he may not ever get to do it. And so he would be an excellent person to put together something and have his own live show. And this is one of the things that the NFL will have to deal with this. And I talked a lot about this in my last video. But so which one of these between these two? Here, actually, take a look. All right, we're back. Let me stay out the way here. There's a truck that's actually coming. So, but I never thought I would ever be doing something like this. This is just absolutely wild right now. It is crazy. Wow, I'm just so glad we had the great thaw today. There's somebody actually out there sitting right at the rocks watching everything go by. So like I said, somebody like Chris Breezy, he could have turned around and he can make a show next year along with Mr. Beast and anybody else, and they can come up with their own halftime show. And with the 25 million viewers that they had, Turning Point, they could, I think they're supposed to make anywhere between $62,000 and $500,000 just in AdSense revenue from YouTube. So hey, if you go do the really, really big bowl game, you don't get paid at all. If you take the initiative to create your own product and post it, you can definitely end up making some money on it. So like I said, between the two of them, I don't express an opinion on which one was better. I enjoyed watching both of them. They both went about it a different way. So I encourage you to go watch the other one that you didn't see. And a lot of the hype that they have now on the fallout afterwards, just ignore it. That's all you can really do. And use your time for something else that is mildly productive. That's what I would definitely recommend to you guys for sure. So yeah, that's it right there. Between the two of them, go watch them. And I don't even need to know what your opinion is. Just go check it out and kind of see for yourself. So this is kind of slushy here. All right, guys, so that's enough of, and one other thing. I don't know what was going on with Kid Rock. Man, I had to go back and watch his part. He just did one song. And I don't know what was going on, because he must have been lip syncing or something. But there was a point where he was like out of sync for like 2 or 3 seconds. So I don't know what was going on. Like his voice was still going on the music, but the microphone was down. So who knows? But that was definitely interesting to see there for sure. So that's it. So I'm getting down to the very end here, and I'll tell you one other thing. Whew, shoot, man, this is crazy. Let's see if we can make this. Wow, crazy, crazy, crazy. So, all right. So we let me talk about the Melania movie. man, we were trying to go see Michael Jackson, Bad, the impersonator. He was coming to Richmond. Actually, I think I'm gonna turn around. It's only gonna get worse as I go around the mountain here and head to the backside. So let me head back this way here. So, because at least this part here is in the sun. The back part is not gonna get any sun at all. So we're supposed to go check out Michael Jackson, Bad. Last Friday, they came out here to Hopewell, Virginia, right down the street, maybe a half a mile or so. And of course, the meteorologist got the weather forecast wrong, and it started to rain, and it started to snow. We got some of the most beautiful, dry, powdery snow that fell, and they called me and said, hey, we are canceling the show, we're gonna postpone it. And so I was like, you know what, there's so much controversy right now around the Melania movie. So I said, I'm gonna go check it out. So went and checked out the movie. Didn't know a lot about it besides a lot of the polarizing hype that's taking place online. So, and I'll tell you, watching the movie, I'll be honest with you guys, I encourage you guys to go see it and watch it. You'll be able to see a different side of her that you've never seen before. And you know, there was a couple times in the movie where you got to actually see the real person that she is, and not so much the public person or the public figure that you'll oftentimes find out. A lot of times people will have a certain cadence to them to be able to match and meet expectations for whatever position that they serve in. So yeah, so it was a really, really good movie. And I was really surprised because, like I said, we were supposed to go see Michael Jackson. And in the movie, the Melania movie, it was, that's one of her favorite artists. And if you didn't realize it or not, her inauguration outfit that she was wearing, it had some inspirational tones and a nod to Michael Jackson and his persona, as well as Smooth Criminal. So it was kind of interesting and a coincidence to want to go see the MJ impersonator, but end up watching a movie that had you know, a lot of influences that related to Michael Jackson. But I said I would give the movie a 5 out of 5. It was very well written. It was only people in the theater, you know, and you know, and I think I looked the other day. It's still doing very well, and I think the whole point I want to make here is, if you take a look at Rotten Tomatoes, I think they say this is probably the most polarized movie that you can see ratings for. The critics, which have a tendency to be in Hollywood, they have a tendency to lean a little bit more to the blue side. They all slammed the movie, I think 8%. But the other people that actually went that were just ordinary folks, they rated the movie, I think at 99%. You know, so these are always one of those good things you can go check out for yourself. And I think the movie was done by Amazon Studios. So at some point, you will have an opportunity probably to watch it on Amazon Prime. So yeah, that's it on that subject right there. Hey, how you doing? So let's talk about the last thing here. I stumbled onto this, and it's the Payphone Project. And I stumbled onto this accidentally. Well, not accidentally, I was scrolling on TikTok. And there's this guy, I think he's based in San Francisco, and he's some type of neuroscientist or something like that, or psychologist. Wow, this is so cool to be able to ride and slide. So, all right, I'm having too much fun out here. He's a neuroscientist, I think is what it is, because that's kind of what his channel is. I don't know what the name of it is, the handle, but he essentially came up on a payphone and bought it. And you're like, payphone? Yeah, one of those payphones from like the 90s. He retrofitted it and installed a modem in it that's connected to the cell system. And he bought a second one and retrofitted it and did the same thing. And so what he's trying to do is he's trying to do what he can to try to help bring people together. And this is kind of what I talk about all the time. So he put one of the phones in the most liberal areas of the country, which is San Francisco, and he put another one in the most conservative areas of the country, which is, I forget the name of the city, but it's down in a smaller town in Texas. I think they're building one of the major data centers down there. And so, and on the payphone, the one in San Francisco, the inscription says, "Talk to a Republican." And there's a little plate that says, "Hey, this is a phone that's connected to, one of the most conservative areas of the country. Pick it up to talk to a Republican." And in the area of Texas, he has another one that says, "Talk to a Democrat." And its insignia on it says, a little plaque. It says, "This here is so that you can talk to somebody in one of the most liberal areas of the country." And so all these conversations that take place, he records them and he posts them online. And so a number of people have picked up the phone that are extremely conservative, that are extremely, extremely liberal, and they had 2 or 3 or 4 minute conversations about just, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on where you are? What are you doing today? What kind of work do you do?" And exchanging pleasantries and talking about how they kind of, know people that lives, people that are in San Francisco say, "Oh, I got friends and family that live in Texas," and vice versa. And so it is a fantastic experiment that they're doing with this project. I'm calling it the Payphone Project. If you guys want to search for it, just go to Google and type in Payphone Project, speak to a Democrat, speak to a Republican, and you'll be able to find exactly where all the content is. So this is something that is hopeful and something that we should all, like I said, all the time. There are people on the red side and the blue side that are never going to change anything that they feel until they're ready to. And that's a universal truth. And so a lot of times your journey onto another road can begin with something as simple as picking up the phone and talking to a stranger, So I highly recommend you guys go check out the Payphone Project. It's another thing along the lines of something small that a person did. You had 25 guys that started a long walk to Washington, D.C., and now they've got millions of supporters and people that are turning out from all over the Eastern Seaboard and showing their support and thanks for giving hope. And something like this here that he's doing with the Payphone Project, essentially 2 people at a time that have a chance to talk, and it gives you hope for humanity. And the nice thing is, people for the most part that I've seen on there, they are kind, they are gentle, they are sweet, and so it's something that all of us should, strive towards trying to do. So everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. Everybody's allowed to, vote the way they want to and have the ideas and, that they do. But it's occasionally a good idea to challenge yourself and make sure that what you believe is still universal and it's still relevant. And if it's not, it's a great opportunity to change. So that's it. That's all I want to say about the Payphone Project. If you guys get a chance to, go ahead and check it out and see it for yourself. And like I said, my big thing for everything, no matter what it is, you know, a lot of these things are polarizing, and you know, just reserve judgment and go look for yourself. And if you're wrong about something, hey, you know, just admit it. You'd be surprised. And just don't be one of those people that make these crazy projections, and in the end, they're not true. And to hide the fact that it's not true, you double down on the next thing. So, you know, that's it, guys. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. I kind of lost track of my time here because I had to shut everything off for a second because my gimbal just went kind of crazy. But this is the last bit of the ride. I am thankful that this happened, and hopefully tomorrow, matter of fact, tomorrow I will come back and do this again. So, and I'll say this, man, this, you know, do I miss California? No, I don't. But watching everybody at the Super Bowl with the stadium open and it being 60 degrees, that was a wonderful thing to be able to see, you know. And I'll tell you what, we are ready to blow this popsicle stand and try something else for a minute and then come back. So, slept up there on the ice. Let's see if I can keep going here. Ready? Go. Whew. Okay, hang on. Ready? Go. Ah, shit. Is this guy behind me? Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Whew. Okay, we're good. Whew. All right, avoid that ice. All right. Raise my seat up a little bit. All right. My brother's not gonna get faded. I don't care if the ground is frozen. In my life. Shit. Okay. My brother fell. This is black ice. Okay. All right, I'm okay. All systems check. All right, I'm good. So let me just penguin it.